Hey, this is Robin, and I'm doing a short video demonstration of modifying forms in SketchUp free. So, to start off with, I'm going to draw a really basic cube form. So, I'm going to select the rectangle tool here, select the rectangle tool, and I'm going to start at the origin point, click once, drag out in the direction I want to go, and then I'm going to make it 1 meter by 1 meter. So I'm typing in 1, 1, enter. Here we go. Now I'm going to push pull that up into a cube. So choose the push pull, and we're going to click there, drag it up, and again type in 1 and enter. No, type in 1, type in 1 and enter. Some of my keys are a little bit sticky. Okay, so now I've got a cube, and we're going to look at modifying that cube to change its shape a bit, and some of the tools we can use to modify forms. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to just move around a little ways, look at the underside here. I'm going to work on this corner, this side, change the shape of it. Okay. So now I am going to make a guideline which is going to help me to control how I modify the forms. So I'm going to select the guideline tape measure. There it is, that little tape measure. And I can come along here. I'm going to take this green axis. I'm going to pick that up with a click and drag it across. And I want to go in the red direct axis. So that means I think I have to click the right arrow. That locks in the red axis. And I'm going to go to the midpoint. There we are. It's got a green, so it's marking that it's halfway along. So if I click there, it's going to put a guideline halfway through that cube. All right. So now to modify this form, I'm going to select this edge and just drag that edge. I don't want to drag the whole thing. I'm going to change the shape of it. So now I'm going to go to move, and I'm going to pick up this end of this line, and I'm going to drag it across to my guideline, and it should snap onto that guideline because that's why I put it there. Okay, so now I'm going to click to drop, and I'm done, and I can push the space bar to revert back to the select tool. Okay, so now I've changed that form a little bit. I've moved it so that it's not a cube anymore. I'm going to pan back round, and now I'm going to modify this other side with another strategy. So, so that last one we moved one parameter of the object. This time I'm going to carve it. Okay, so I'm going to do a tangent here and carve a piece off the side of it. So we're going to go into arc, and I want the one which is 3, where you do 2 ends of the arc and then the radius. So I'll pick that one, and I'm going to go on the edge there, click, and then take it over to here. And if you get into the roughly the right spot, it will want to do the tangent, so you know it's going to be a continuation of that, of the face, of the side face. So now I'm going to click there to do the tangent, and then I have to click in another place to make the shape of the arc also a tangent. Okay, so there's that tangential radius corner there, and I'm going to go back to now I want push pull. Okay, and you can use the push pull to push that, to carve off that corner. So I'm going to click on that surface, push it right through, and when I get to the other side, when it says on edge, I can click that and it will cut off the whole thing. So I'll click there, here we go, and I've carved that edge off. Okay, so that's a couple of simple modifications. You can carve it off with the push-pull, or you can just select one edge of it and move that. And now I'm going to group that. Okay, so let's group that whole thing. I can either click on it 3 times to select the whole thing, and then right click and go make group. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, of course, is to select the whole thing by dragging a rectangle across it. But triple click is a really good way of selecting everything. So now I have got this as a single entity, a group, and I can move it easily without deforming it. It's not going, the whole thing's going to move as one object. It's not going to deform in some weird and unpredictable way. So what I'm going to do over here is use my guideline again. I'm going to position some other guidelines in space so that I can control where I want things to go. So I'm going to move a guideline that's parallel to the red axis, and it's going to be how far back? Shall we say, I don't know, 10 meters back in that direction? Here we are. So that's 10 meters back. So now I can pick up the object and I can move it. I can grab a corner of it. Let me see. Grab this corner, click, move it back to here, and I can put it on this corner, okay? And I know that it's in exactly the right place I want it. Or I can take it over and put it on this corner. It's exactly where I want it in space, and click, there it is. So I know it's going to be still on that same ground plane and in a specific position where I've determined it will be set by the guidelines. All right, so now I'm going to move that again, but this time I'm going to copy it and create, let's see, we'll create a component. So I'm going to delete the guidelines that I don't need anymore. Get rid of that one, get rid of that one, gone, okay. Now I can select, triple click. Nope, that's not going to work anymore. I don't have to triple click because it's already a group. I just need to click once. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to make it a component. So I'm going to call this, well, it's called component 1. That will do. Okay. And it's not glued anywhere. That's fine. That's okay. That's good. Right. So now when I multiply that, when I create lots of them, they will all behave in exactly the same way when I change one attribute of it. All right. So I am going to move it. And this time, so I'm going to grab the corner. I'm going to drag it on the green axis. I want it on the green axis, so I'm going to push the left arrow to lock it on the green axis. I'll bring it all the way up to here. And I'm going to click on Option so that it copies. And I'm going to let go. And now I'm going to type in divide by 4. Okay, so that gives me 4 copies, all regularly spaced. Okay, so now they're all the same component, so potentially they will all change in the same way if I pull on them. So let's have a look at that. If we go change our view, so we're going to look at the underside. Okay, there we go. And we are going to work inside the component there. And I'm going to push pull. You'll notice that when I select that surface to push pull, it's selecting the bottom of all of the others as well. So I can pull this down and they're all going to change in exactly the same way, okay? So that way we know that they're all the same component and I don't need to change each one. I can change them all at the same time. So that's really useful if you're going to do a lot of repeating motifs. All right, I'm going to space to escape from that tool. Now, click outside the selection and it returns the normal view. just pan around and have a look. Okay, here they are. So now I have 5 that are all exactly the same. And now we're going to look at how we can change them all slightly so that they do different things. So what we want to do is make one of them a unique component, and that way we can change one without changing the others. So select that one, and now right click, and we're going to make unique. Okay, now I can modify it, and it will only modify the single one rather than all of them at the same time. So we're going to look at rotating. I am going to pan around so I can see it from the other direction. Let me see. Okay. Zoom in. Okay. Right. So I've gone a bit close now. Zoom out. Zoom in. Here we go. Right. So rotation. Select rotation. Now it's creating a sort of a circle, which is the plane that's going to rotate. So in this instance, I want it to be in the green plane, not the red plane. So I can lock it to the green plane by pushing the left arrow. And then I'm going to choose the center point of the rotation. Go along to another point in the line that's going to move, on the red axis in this case. And I'll click there. And that way I can start to tip it over that point that I first selected. So you'll notice the angle changing down in the bottom of the screen there as I move it. So we can also determine exactly what angle you're going to tip it to. So I can go, I'm going to tip it to 60 degrees, 60, enter. Okay, and now it's finished. All right, so if I do that again, I'm going to say, right, this one, I'm going to make that one unique. Make unique. Okay. Now I'm going to rotate again. I'm going to lock it to the green plane by pushing the left arrow. Select that pivot point. Select the line, the bit I'm going to pick up and pull. Select that. And now this one's going to go 30 degrees. So I'll type in 30, enter. And it's going to sit at 30 degrees. So now space to get for that one. Alright, so let's just zoom out and see what that looks like. Okay, so we've got 5 objects that are exactly the same, but these 2 have been made unique and then fiddled with. Okay, so that's rotation. Scale is another thing we can change in this form now that we've made a form to play with. So if I go to this again and select that component. Again, I'm going to right click and make it a unique component. And I am going to scale. So down in here somewhere, where are we? That one. Okay. No, not rotation. Scale. Okay, here we go. So it comes up looking like that. Now, there's a few different things you can do with this. You can alter it to a prescribed scale by using, here we are, uniform scale about opposite point. So I can pick that point up and I can change the scale to whatever I want. And you'll see down in the bottom corner the numbers are changing. So if I say I want this to be a 75% scale, I can go 75, enter. Whoops, what happened there? That didn't work. Okay. Clover, let's get out of that one. What happened there? Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. I'm scaling there. I know what it was. Okay, I didn't go 0.75, so it went up a million times, 100 times bigger. So 0.75, enter. That's better. Instead of a giant object, that's better. Okay, so now that's a scaled object from slightly smaller from where it was before. So you can take a look around. You can see it's exactly the same object. It's just been reduced in size. Okay. Now I'm going to take that object and show you how you can use scale to mirror the object. So we'll go back into scale. Okay, now if I take a center point, say this one, I can scale about the opposite point, and I can actually, rather than growing, I can make it a mirror by going backwards and off to the other side. So I'm going to pick that one up and I'm going to go back in the opposite direction. And down in the numbers, you see I want it to be at -1, so it's not stretched. So I know it's at the 1-to-1 scale, but it's in the negative, so it's mirrored. So I'm going to go -1, enter. Okay, and there I've got a mirrored object. Okay, so that's some of the useful things, the ways you can modify forms using different tools. And I hope that's been a little bit useful.